episode of the Ravens schedule release. Today we're gonna watch the schedule release of the Baltimore Ravens and give some live reviews, some constructive um, insight on the matchups, as well as highlight some of the um,
A good game.
prime time games. Yeah, the
And
big
most
games, the
important,
prime time games of the season.
and most important, we're gonna give y'all our predictions
Yes.
for the 20. Well, I guess the 2025 Baltimore Ravens.
So so stay tuned for the predictions. Y'all ready to get into the schedule release video produced by Ravens Media?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
somebody join echo. But yeah, go ahead. Let's get into it.
And we can't, you
Start.
can't, you can't title.
My name is Charlie Kane. I have
Y'all can hear the
my own
audio
free
okay?
accord
Yeah.
elected
Yeah.
to undergo the procedure known as severance. Hey kids, what's for dinner? I give consent to sever my memories between my professional football life and my personal life.
Who are you?
My name is Trent. I'm from work.
So we're friends?
We're best friends. Really good friends.
I acknowledge that once the procedure is complete, I'll be unable to access my personal memories whilst at the Ravens
Black
Under Armour
Mirror shit.
Performance Center, nor will I retain football memories when I return home at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, our Darius Washington. I know you know the Ravens schedule.
The schedule?
You know, home opener, the Bills,
Is this
Steelers, the Browns.
Bills, Browns.
I am aware that this alteration is comprehensive and irreversible. I make these statements freely. Each category of numbers presents in such an order as to elicit an emotional response in the refiner. They'll be sort of disconcerting, scary.
Who's that right there?
Oh, my job is
Charlie
to scroll
Kolar.
through the spreadsheet
Oh, so-
and look for the scary numbers.
The schedule is mysterious and important.
They were scary. The numbers were scary.
I confer upon you the knowledge for rematch with the Bills. We will be going back to Buffalo. A handshake is available upon request.
Thank you. May I have a handshake?
What the hell?
What I'd like to do is share with you some facts about your Audi.
So we opening
Just
it up
relax
against
your
the
body
Bills.
and be open to the facts. Your Audi is a cat person. Your Audi watches TV without subtitles.
Come on with your internet, boy.
Your Audi is fond of music and thinks Kendrick Lamar is the best
golly?
artist ever. I'm sorry. Please try to enjoy each fact equally
Come on.
and not show preference for one over any others. Your Audi is a USC football fan.
They're not ready yet.
Man, we might have to. We might
Hey,
have
that's
to watch
false.
this again.
That's
We might-
false.
You're not ready.
It's false. We gotta go. We gotta run it back. We gotta run that back. Hold up. Let me.
yeah, we got to run it back.
Yeah, we
You
got.
want to share?
Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can share and see if it's doing the same thing or not.
Yeah, I probably got a hardwire my computer.
Yeah, cause I felt like I was missing some of the little jokes and shit in there.
Yeah.
Poor Wi-Fi.
Let's see if this one is.
All right, we're gonna rewatch it for a second time because my Wi-Fi shitty.
Hopefully this.
My name is Charlie K. I have, of my own free accord, elected to undergo the procedure known as severance. Hey kids, what's for dinner? I give consent to sever my memories between my professional football life.
Breathe on.
Who are you? My name is Trent. I'm from work. So we're friends? We're best friends. Really good friends.
I acknowledge that once the procedure is complete, I'll be unable to access my personal memories whilst at the Ravens Under Armour Performance Center. Nor will I retain football memories when I return home at the end of the day.
Oh my gosh, our Darius Washington. I know you know the Ravens schedule.
The schedule?
You know, home opener, the Bills, the Steelers, the Browns.
Bills, Browns.
I am aware that this alteration is comprehensive and irreversible.
Ravens again, unfortunately.
I make these statements freely. Each category of numbers presents in such an order as to elicit an emotional response in the refiner. They'll be sort of disconcerting, scary.
So my job is to scroll through the spreadsheet and look for the scary numbers?
The schedule is mysterious and important.
They were scary. The numbers were scary.
I confer upon you the knowledge for rematch with the Bills. We will be going back to Buffalo. A handshake is available upon request.
Thank you. May I have a handshake?
Week 1 versus.
What I'd
Bills
like to
and
do
Buffalo.
is share with you some facts about your Audi. Just relax your body and be open to the facts. Your Audi is a cat person. Your Audi watches TV without subtitles. Your Audi is fond of music and thinks Kendrick Lamar is the best artist ever. I'm sorry. Please try to enjoy each fact equally and not show preference for one over any others. Your Audi is a USC football fan.
They're not ready yet. They're not ready. You can't take them. They're not ready.
Everybody trying to start their acting career right now.
Bro, I got something to show you. What's going on? Just watch. Oh, I know what's going on now. I know you do.
My name is Roger R. I'm an innie. Listen up. I have the 2025 NFL schedule. The first primetime game for the Ravens is week.
I have the board here.
Can the board tell me who we play week 18?
Oh, yes, of course. The board says week 18 is against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
But what day is the game?
The board has concluded the call.
Why are you a child?
Because of when I was born?
I did the thing. I deleted the scary numbers.
All right, Jordan. Hip hip.
Ooh.
It isn't time. They're not ready.
Oh, they'll be ready.
That was good. The best media team by far in the NFL.
No, absolutely. They had like a Black Mirror's vibe to it.
You guys led the way really well. I thought you guys did a good job.
They're not ready. That's hilarious. What he alluded to right there?
I think he said he drafting goats.
Yeah, he drafting goats, but they not ready.
But they're not ready yet.
But they be ready.
You didn't see him when it said draft room in the background.
Nice. That's funny as hell.
Time. They're not ready.
That's
Oh, they'll be
hilarious.
ready.
That's hard though.
It isn't time.
All right, so we got the schedule up right here. We opening up September 7th on the road, Sunday night football. So the first Sunday night football game of the year versus the Bills, a rematch of the divisional series. That's going to be a big one. Let's go with game by game. Go game by game and give out our predictions on a winner, and we'll come to the end and see what that overall record is. So what's your thoughts on that opener versus the Bills?
It's going to be a tough match. But go ahead, E.
It's going to be a tough matchup. I got the Ravens taking this one just based off the way we ended last year. I feel like last year we had their number. I think the way it being the way, it being the weather conditions, we were a better team that night. I think the weather got the best of us. They played a little better at home with that weather. So I think starting off the year, we're going back to the Bills with that in the back of our minds, and we handle business on a nice Sunday night football game with Derrick Henry starting his 2-year extension with the Ravens, $30 million, with additional with our other pieces and our whole team being healthy, I think we take this one.
Yeah, speaking about healthy, let's really quickly touch on the fact that our Darius Washington was lost for the season with a torn Achilles and
Mm.
practice pretty much for training, getting ready for the upcoming season. So we saw him in this video. So how big of a blow y'all think that's going to be to the defense, and you think they will be able to fill his spot with somebody that's currently on the roster, or are they going to go outside the team looking for a replacement for him?
No, it's definitely a huge loss, especially with you drafting the safety first round. That looking to have an understudy like understudy under Darius Washington. You know what I'm saying? And having extra people to try to teach him that system is definitely important. So that's definitely a great loss, and not even on top of like the production that he has on the field when he's playing with the defense. He knows the game. He's been versatile in the Ravens defense the past 2-3 years, from jumping from nickel all to being a high safety and making some of those big plays. I think we mentioned in episodes before, in those playoff in the playoff run to stop some very important drives. So
Yeah,
that's definitely a hit.
Yeah, for sure. That
The,
is.
the the only saving grace is the Ravens do have a lot of young depth at the DB position. They had a draft pick last year at safety and an undrafted rookie free agent at safety from Maryland, Bo Braid, who showed out well in the preseason. So that just gives them an opportunity to get on the field a little bit more and show what they can do, and hopefully they'll be able to step up.
And that's what that I think that Bill game is going to come down to is they're going to try to like Josh Allen going to try those safeties and then getting off the field on third downs, and that's heavy on the safety play.
Yeah, Marvin said that it's not big of a loss with Starks, but they could bring Justin Simmons in. That's what he just
Mm.
stated there.
Yeah, and I also heard some rumors about bringing Chuck Clark back. So they'll have. I think if we do sign somebody, it'll be within like the middle towards the end training camp. I think they're going to want to see what they have in these young players first before they make any real investments on bringing in any, significant veterans. So it'll be interesting to see. Along those lines too, with the Derrick Henry signing, there's a lot of talks that next up we're going to be seeing an extension on Lamar Jackson, who is going into the season right now at a $47 million cap hit.
Mm.
So and it's only going to be higher the next two seasons. So the Ravens are really motivated to get that contract extension done with Lamar before the season starts to lighten that cap hit for the upcoming season that'll allow them to make some of those type of moves.
No, absolutely.
All right, so week 2
So
versus
we
the
got we got
Browns.
them we got
That's
them
going to be
one
the
and zero.
home
We got them
opener
one and
in
zero so
in-
far, right?
Say it again.
Yeah, we got the one and 0 so far. It's going to be
Okay.
a tough one.
So my question is, week 2 versus the Browns. What quarterback we seeing?
Uh, See,
Honestly, I don't even think it matter. I think we sweep the Browns this year, and
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah,
go on record
I
and
think
say,
I think so too. But
I
the
think
only
we should. Yeah,
interesting thing about this game is the, the quarterback we're going to see against the Ravens defense.
and
yeah,
I think we definitely gonna have to revisit the Browns conversation post preseason just
Yeah,
to see who lasts, who looks the best. See if Dylan Gabriel gets more snaps. Like just seeing how they looking to work either Shador and even with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco. But I could foresee that being a Flacco reunion game. Flacco's probably going to be starting. It's so early in the season.
yeah,
Week 2, you want to go with the veteran before you just throw a rookie out there, especially against that Raven defense. So I foresee one of the veterans starting that game.
yeah. I think the NFL is all about storylines, and that would be the storyline going into that game. I believe that would be the first game that Joe Flacco will come back to Baltimore starting for another team. So that'd be interesting to see. I'm sure a lot of people will be rooting for Joe at the beginning of the game, but when the game start, that's going to be over with.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, I got them taking that game.
so we saying the Ravens starting off 2-0, going into week 3 with their second primetime game in the first 3 weeks, going to the bank to play the Lions on Monday Night Football. That's going to be a good game.
It's gonna be
I
a great
think
game.
I think that's going to be a close margin. That's going to be probably one of them games, them swing games. One of them games we going to feel like we had to get back. I think it's going to fall on the rookie kicker for for this game. And it's early in the season where they still working out some kinks against a really good team against the Lions. I might have to see they might I might go with the L on this one.
We
Yeah,
also got we also got the stat that Lamar holds with the most wins against NFC teams too.
yeah.
So kind of
You
keeping that
going
alive as well.
so you going with the W?
I'm going with the W with another NFC team because they don't see him, they can't plan for him. They don't see him often enough to see what it feels like to play against the Ravens. I think the Ravens has better established scheme, better established players. I think they take this game as well.
Yeah, and then I don't want to go too far ahead of the season, but it looks like the Ravens' schedule is very tough at the beginning, and it starts to lighten up. So
Yeah.
it's going to be really important that they get off to a fast start this season. As far as the Lions, I'm gonna go with the win. Um, my opinion is probably a little bit different than y'all's though, because I'm probably not so sure they're gonna get the win week 1.
I think so. I'm with you on that, K. I think so too.
Yeah, I think they have the ability to beat any team on the schedule, but if we just looking at the strength of their first 5 games, they got the Bills, the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Texans within the first 5 games. So if they can come out of that 3-2, I think they're going to be in a good spot. Um, with the Lions, I think they'll handle the Lions. Even though the Lions are one of the teams that's on a come up, we played the Lions the last 2 years, and they were both been blowout games. So the Ravens match up really well against the Lions. The Lions are one of those teams that uh, try to dominate and out physical teams, and they have success doing that in the NFC. But in the AFC, it's a different type of ball game. So I think the Ravens win that game to start the season 2-1.
All right. So what you guys say moving on to the Chiefs
And it's interesting because this
and,
is at the Chiefs.
and Arrowhead
Mm,
Yeah.
mm.
afternoon game?
I don't know. I feel like I just what history tells it. Chiefs at home. You never can like really bet on Pat Mahomes. They had our number for the last few seasons. Um, four
I'm gonna
o'clock
say,
game.
like, based off what I saw from the Chiefs last year, especially what I saw in the Super Bowl, I think their roster is starting to degrade, and they can't just depend on Patrick Mahomes to win them games anymore. So I don't think the Chiefs are going to be a bad team this season, but I think this is a game, one of them statement games for the Ravens to come out and show who's really the best team in the AFC. I think this is a game that the Chiefs are going to lose.
All right, I agree with that. I can agree with that. So right now, y'all say 4-1.
Well, we had 3-1 going into
Oh, 3-1. I'm sorry,
yeah,
three and
three
one.
and one going into the Texans game. So the only difference we had right now is some people. Well, I don't say some people, but we were kind of split on who was going to win the Bills, and then some we kind of split it on who's going to win the Lions game. But I think we do have a consensus that they're going to come out of that 3-1. Are we good on that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
can
got
say
them
three
beating
and
the
one.
Bills. I think the Bills is a statement game. I think maybe the Chiefs might be. Um, the Lions might be the one that's up in the air for me. But I feel like the statement game with the Bills, with how it ended last year, I think that's on their mind all off season. I think they were waiting for that game. I think they kind of taste blood already for that.
And this is back-to-back seasons where the Ravens starting off against an opponent they lost in previous year in the playoffs against.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's gonna be must see TV.
And then we go on to week 5 where the Ravens October 5th are going to be home against the Texans. Your first,
I
this is going to be a 1 o'clock game.
I like the Ravens on that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I like the
CJ
Ravens.
Stroud.
We in consensus on that?
Yeah,
All right. Week 6, October 12th, we have the Rams coming cross country to play the Ravens on a 1 p.m. start.
I like the Ravens on this one. You know, them traveling from LA to the East Coast will be, it's kind of hard for any team to for that time distance to play, especially a 1 o'clock game with that time distance and traveling. Um, the Rams kind of lost their kind of key players as far as their scores, with Cooper Cup just leaving, and they had Puka Nakua. Puka Nakua have to prove that he can be a solo act.
Oh no, they
Coming up,
got Devontae Adams.
they got Devontae Adams as well. They seen Devontae Adams last year, kind of handled them, kind of kept them under wraps for the most part last year. It'd be a good game, but with the time difference and them coming, from from the West Coast for a 1 o'clock game would be tough for any team. I think the Ravens get this one.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So going into the bye right now, we have the Ravens at 5-1. Is everybody on board with that? Going into the bye, a little bit of a early bye, um, compared to what they had in previous seasons.
Yeah, I'm with that. I'm with the 5-1.
All right, so coming off the bye, we have a home game versus the Bears. What are y'all thinking on this?
For second year for the Bears quarterback.
Caleb.
Feel like he'll start putting stuff together. He didn't have a bad statistical year, but not a great one. But I feel like he started getting his bearings. Um, another NFC team. I think the Ravens does very well against the NFC teams. I think they pulled this one out. I don't see the firepower that the Bears have to beat the Ravens.
What
Me
you think,
personally.
Phil?
I wanted to go back real quick to the Rams. I felt like the Rams we got a target on our back from the Rams because the last time we played them, I think that was the Tylan Wallace return. And the difference between this is the one NFC team that plays the toughest, just due to the Ravens defense is really good at stopping a run. But with the Rams, their primary offense is pass West Coast offense, pass based. So that's why we always play them tight. So I think that's going to come down to a nail biter as well. But with the Bears, yeah, I think that's going to be a dub. Even though they got a lot of young talent, I would be very impressed if Caleb Williams could pull off a win here. But I don't see them like against a versatile defense like the Ravens. I see the defense scoring in this game. I definitely see the defense scoring. I think it's a showcase for some of those young DBs to recover from, which is going to be a tough performance from the Rams going into a bye week.
Okay, so we all got them winning the game versus the Bears. That's going to put them at what, 6-1? So that'll put them at 6-1 going into week 9 versus the Dolphins in Miami. 8:15 Thursday night football game. That's probably going to be a game I'm going to.
That might be
Hey, the Florida Ravens going to Florida.
Yeah, that's going to be a vibe. Hey, Engraven, we pulling up. I
Yes,
know you
sir.
won't be there. We pulling up.
And I think that game is going to be a real good game because, with Thursday night football, Lamar Jackson always have one of those primetime games where he do a 5 touchdown performance.
Mm-hmm.
and where he might rush for over 100 and pass for over 100. I think that's one of those games. A Thursday night football at 8:15. I think by that time all the pieces should be rolling. You know, off a big win against the Bears. I could foresee um, D Hop being acclimated into the offense a little bit more, so he might have a high reception game. I see it being one of those primetime games, them Jackson 5 primetime.
Okay,
I agree with that.
I like that. I think we. I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like we're giving the Ravens too many wins already. But right now, we got them
I
at
think it's 7-1. I think 7-1, 6-2 is
I
reasonable.
say 5-3. If I wanted to be very,
at the
very
worst.
at the
7.
worst,
At best 7-1. At
No,
the
at
worst
best
5
8
and
and
3.
0.
At the best 8-0. The reason why I can't give the Ravens 8-0 is because we famous for playing down to some of the competition. And that's kind of like we have those slip up games. Like last season, if I told you that we lost to the Raiders, you'd be like, yeah, but we did, you know. And I think some of them
I was
games
at that
are
game.
going to. Oh yeah, he was at that game. So those games are going to come down to the rookie kicker, and that's where I think some of these games he might end up making a name for himself. So that's going to be a crazy storyline to follow post Justin Tucker era.
And also, when I look at these get the schedule, I think about their pass rushers, because one thing I did pick out, um, or seen when we played the Raiders last year is that pass rush. Anyway, any team that we have or played against that have a decent pass rush, they usually give us the most problems, and we usually have the less score games, because then we start going away from our rhythm, because then we'll start, you know, running the ball more because we can protect. Or and when it's time to pass the ball, we get under pressure and he's throwing off his back foot. Um, we know we're not in rhythm. So I always look at these teams who has the best pass rusher that's going to give us the most problems. If you can't get to Lamar, then you kind of chalk up a dub for us, because if you can't get to Lamar, he can do whatever you want. He can run, he can pass, but if you're not putting no pressure on him, then I'm start leaning towards more of the Raven side. Uh, to be honest
Yeah,
with you.
I probably would have said that 2 years ago. But if you think back to last year, if there was any teams that did have dominant pass rushers, they didn't really impact the game other than early in the season when Max Crosby kind of wrecked the game, that Raiders game. And I
Yeah,
think the difference is Derrick Henry. So
yeah,
you'll notice like a lot of the games that we lost early in the season was not because of the offense. It was because of the defense was giving up 30 and 40 points. So I think Derrick Henry is
early,
that
yeah,
that neutralizer to a pass rush, because the pass rushers can't go too wild. They have to account for those uh those run plays.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's not solely the pass rush. It's just a good dominant front line.
Yeah.
Um, they keep us honest. If you have a dominant front line, if a defense have a dominant front line against the Ravens, it keeps us honest. Um, but if you have a D line that's going to give us a little problems, that's going to kind of can stop Derrick Henry before he get his motion going. Um, Keep Lamar off his point, keep him off his calm in
Spot.
the pocket, off his spot. Then we kind of get into not saying that we lose off of that, but it's basically, but it keeps the game closer than it usually is. So if they have a dominant front line, it slows the game down for us.
All right, so we saying we got the everybody on board with the Ravens winning in Miami, taking them to eight
Yeah.
and one.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Lamar going home, he definitely puts on the
I
show.
think that's when the 3-time MVP conversation start.
He played big in the big lights, under lights. So
All
Yeah.
right, moving on to the following week in Minnesota, 1 p.m. game versus the Vikings.
Hmm. Emerging team. I think by that time, I think McCarthy will get to see what McCarthy becomes. The quarterback out of Michigan. I think he'll be probably starting quarterback by that time. Um, I'm liking the Ravens. It's going to be a close game though, just based on a lot of my predictions is based on how the secondary comes along. Because like you said before, we had last season where they had to make some transitions and some switches to the secondary to kind of fix it. And it looks like that's going to be the case this year based on the injury to Darius Washington. Of course, we would love to plug and play the rookie, but I know it's gonna be some learning curve with his development. And the reason why I think the Ravens going to end up winning that game, just because similar with what E saying about the not only the pass rush, but if you can't slow down the run, then there's no chance of you beating the Ravens. I'm gonna just tell you that right now. If you can't slow down the run at least a little bit, and I don't think the Vikings are stopping them 1 p.m. on a November morning. I mean afternoon.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. So we got the Ravens at is that 8-1?
Yeah, let's go 8-1, and at worst 5 and I mean
And if we're going 8 and
six and
1,
3.
and then that means we're going 9-1 because next week we have the New York Jets at home. No, I skipped a game.
Oh, you skipped the Browns
I
at
skipped the
Browns.
Browns. We have the Browns. Same
This
same
one
thing
we
though.
might see Shador.
That's when we might see Shador, in my opinion.
I feel like Shador gets a start right here.
I feel like
So
I believe he probably be on his either second or third game playing.
Okay. With all that being said, it's going to be a win for the Ravens. But again, a game. I'll be excited to see all of these games. But I do hope it's a game that Shador holds his own. But at the end, the Ravens just going to be too much.
I agree.
Going
All right.
into November 23rd, the Ravens are home against the New York Jets. 1 p.m. start. Safe to say 10-1.
Who's that? Justin Fields.
Yeah, because they got Fields at QB. And I'm gonna say one thing about New York, man. They put a lot of pressure on their teams, and depending on what their record is around that time, I don't foresee it being a good one just based on all the transitions that they had recently with leadership. And then a lot of people, I think the returning players have to buy into what the Jets are doing because with what happened with Aaron Rodgers, you done shipped off your best receiver, you done got rid of your QB, you done fired your coaches last season. That's a lot of turmoil to overcome for a quarterback that just spent 1 year in Pittsburgh and now coming to get acclimated to a new locker room. So it just depends on what their record, but I don't foresee the Jets beating the Ravens at home.
We don't know what the Jets are right now, so
Yeah.
at this moment, I say that's a win for the Ravens.
All
And
right.
I would love to revisit this after preseason. We should revisit this
we
after
will. Oh, we
preseason.
definitely we're going to revisit this before the season starts to see how different our feelings are after actually watching them on the field. But that will put them at 11-1 going in to the first ever home Thanksgiving game in
Mm.
Baltimore for the Baltimore Ravens, a game that I actually may be interested in going to. Grabbing some food, eat with the family, and then that night go down to the bank.
Nah, for sure.
You
That's
know, you
fire.
often probably gonna be off work the next day. Well, I know I'm gonna be off work the next day.
Yeah.
So that might be my home game I go to this year. I will say I'm gonna give it like a little spoiler to later in the schedule. I do feel like the Ravens will lose to the Bengals one time this year, but I don't think it's going to be this game.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you with the split. Man, they put on a passing clinic, man. I probably said it 20 times this video, but the secondary is really gonna have to step up. And like you said, we got some young, talented guys. And I foresee EDC bringing somebody in over the preseason. Also, I don't think we talked about it, but Jadeveon Clowney is a free agent. So
Yeah.
trying to if we can stack something with the pass rush, we might can alleviate some of the back end,
Yeah,
if that have them hold up. But yeah, I foresee the Ravens losing one of the Bengals game. It might be this one, it might be the next one.
I think the schedule makers did the Ravens a solid
Just
here
you think
by
so?
having these Bengal games at the end of the season where it's going to be a little bit cold outside. We might be playing in some 30, 40-degree weather. And the passing game takes a little bit of hit when you're playing in cold weather. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm sure that they will probably play us tough. And like I said before, I think they will win one of these games. But I think this one, Thursday night, in front of the nation, at home, at the bank,
It's
versus the
different.
divisional opponent, the divisional rival, I think the Ravens take this one.
Yeah, I see that too.
I I, I don't know, Kay. Just at the glance of the last 6 weeks, I think the schedule makers did a disservice.
Wow. The two last games?
Just cause the fact, all right, so they got two road games, one a division game as we go into the playoffs. And then also, I feel like all those last games are going to determine who makes the playoffs. So it's kind of like playoffs was really going to be starting at Thanksgiving, where you're going to probably be having some tough fights. And even though the Steelers haven't identified their starting quarterback, they still play the Ravens pretty well. And then to have a back-to-back game against the Bengals, like with a Steeler week, just to buffer it, it's kind of tough. That's a tough
I,
streak of games
I
between
mean,
week
yeah, there's
13 and
three
week
divisional opponents back to back to back.
back to back.
That's wild.
So that's going to be tough. And then we dealing with a 31-year-old Derrick Henry. Yeah, yes, he got paid. I'm glad they paid him, but that's a force. And then have him in Lambeau to run against in that environment going into the playoffs. Hopefully, we in the good standings where we get that bye. We definitely might need that first round bye this season.
Yeah. I mean, according to what the schedule, the record we giving them right now, they're gonna be in position for that first round bye. So hopefully we are close on that. But one thing I did say earlier that they gave them a break by having the Bengals at the end of the year. The Steelers is probably one of the teams I would want to play at the beginning of the year before they actually start to figure stuff out. So at this point, and at week 14, the Steelers are going to know who their quarterback is. They're going to have their system established. They're going to have, their scheme, and they're going to know what's working. So we're probably going to get the best version of the Steelers, whatever that version in 2025 is.
You
Um,
think so?
And the Bengals.
I think the Steelers, honestly, I think the Steelers start out hot. The last couple seasons, they've been over 500 going into November, and they kind of
yeah, but
collapsed down to the end. Like
yeah,
they
but
be
yeah, but you gotta look right now. They're going into the season not at this point about to start training camp. Still don't even know who their quarterback is. They have a new wide receiver. They're pretty much going to be their whole offense is going to be new to the system. So it's going to take some time to get that timing down, especially when you're coming in with a new quarterback, whoever that is, and then a new wide receiver and a new running back. So
that's what I'm
it's going to take
saying.
some
I
time
don't,
for them to
I,
get their system going. Like
are
this,
you are you
this is the team I'd rather to play week one, honestly.
are you think they split or they can get a sweep
I
with them?
The Steelers are hard. The Steelers are hard because, like I said, they always find a way to win, even though you look at their roster and it's like how are they winning games. What they always find a way to win. So I think it's a safe. I think I'm already looking at it, saying I think the Ravens got what we have so far is too good. So I'm gonna say somewhere they're gonna lose a game. So I will say they'll split with the Bengals and they'll probably split with the Steelers too.
All right.
That gives them
So
that
I
gives them
so
four
that
losses right
hops
there.
that kind of jumps us to the Patriots game.
I mean, that should be a win.
That should be a win. Drake May been playing well.
It's a home game. The Patriots probably won't be playing for anything at this point. I this should be a win.
Should be a win.
Well, how about Packers? They putting it together.
The Packers are going to be an interesting game. We're going to be playing the Lambeau. You know, they got Jordan Love is starting to put things together. It's going to be
Jacobs.
it's going to be an interesting game. It'll be like I said towards the end of the season, so we don't know what our health will be looking like at that point. We don't know what our record will be looking at that point. Or we won't be in a position where we don't need to even play these
Play
games.
our starters, yeah.
So it'll be interesting. But just for the sake of realism, I'm gonna give them a loss here.
Oh, the Ravens.
Yep.
And I could see that, and the only reason why is when the Ravens play, and I don't even think they might. No, they not sitting their starters that early. But you know how the running backs, like one of the teams I'm disappointed that I don't see on the schedule is the Eagles. I kind of wanted that game back, but that was last season was a big off season for those running backs, because those three primary running backs were signed with Henry coming to us, and then you had Josh Jacobs actually went to the Packers, and then you had Saquon with the Eagles. They kind of adapt similar formulas. Like the Packers adapt a similar formula. They find big interior linemen to try to stop the run, and they one of the NFC teams that really values the run game, just through history. Like they had Ahmad Green, and then they had Ryan Grant. They always find those bell cow running backs that kind of matches up well against the Ravens. So I could agree with you on that. Like that can be a potential surprising.
Yeah, and I'm
Even
thinking have has Lamar played the Packers before? Only
a
one I can
head-to-head
remember
competition
is
against
in the
Aaron
preseason.
Rodgers.
I feel like he has.
I feel like he has too.
The only one I can remember for sure is when they played in the preseason, and I think that was his rookie year. But I don't remember. I don't remember them playing the Packers. Honestly, I may be wrong. We had to follow up on that. So, and then we already talked about the Steelers game. So overall, that will put them at 12-5, I believe.
All right, yeah. Best case scenario, 12-5. Worst case scenario,
I'm not gonna say best case scenario
I'm
because
off
they
our
can
best
obviously
case
win a
scenario.
lot more games than that. But I would say like my realistic uh record is 12-5. On a high end, they could. I mean, on the high end, let's be real, they can go undefeated. So I'm not gonna say that's the best case scenario, but more realistic, I'm gonna say 12-5. I would say worst case scenario, like 10-7. If they went 10-7, we might talk about somebody getting fired.
Yeah.
10-7, they making the play. I think they make the playoffs regardless. But now that I kind of like really look back at the schedule. Low key, that Thanksgiving game might be a loss, just because the simple fact they turn that turnaround is crazy. 4 games, 4 days, 23rd to the 27th,
Yeah, I
and
mean that's
you playing that
5
team.
days on Monday Night Football. I mean, the other team got to do the same thing.
Yeah. And they do that twice. They do that
And
twice.
then
They do it in October and then they do it in November.
I could kind of see them beating the Bengals because they almost kind of got like a bye week there, 27th, and then they don't play until December 7th.
Yeah. We don't got a
So
lot of break. You look at the September. You got that September game with the Lions, and then you got that Monday night, and then what? 5 days later, 6 days later, you playing the Chiefs at 4, and then you look at the October. Back in October, they play the Bears on the 26th, and then 4 days. What's that? 4 days later, they're playing Thursday night football with the Dolphins, and then you see obviously the Jets, and then 4 days later they're playing the Bengals Thanksgiving. So the turnaround that kind of gets me makes me think that the back end of that schedule is going to be a little rough based on where we are with injuries and it just being fresh for the playoffs. Um, so that kind of like Ketcher said, that realistic, that 12 and that 10-7, 12-5 seems more realistic when it comes to like just based on how much football they're playing in short amount of time each month.
Oh, you
Um,
saying 12 and 5?
12-5, yeah.
Yeah,
So
and overall for the season, it looks like the Ravens have four and potentially up to six primetime games. So the Ravens will be getting a lot of national exposure this year, which would be cool, and it'd be interesting to see which channel this
Yeah,
Thanksgiving game is on, because we
might be on
started doing it.
Netflix.
Yeah, we
could
started
be on
doing the
Netflix
Netflix on Christmas and all of that, so it'd be
or
interesting
Prime.
to see.
Oh, I think Prom, yeah, had it
You know
last
what?
year.
I'm just noticing these two last games don't have a date either. So
I see. That's what I said. I think it might be 5. I think they might round off at 5 primetime games. You know how
and
they always try to do
that Packer game could
a
end
pro,
up being the Christmas game.
4 dang 4
That's only 4 days though.
4
Yeah, but
days
that's what
after
they did last year. Remember, people played Sunday and then played
Christmas.
on
Yeah.
Christmas, which was like Wednesday, I think.
And I think they got those to be determined, and that was smart of them to release it that way, just because the simple fact you don't know where these teams will be,
And
and
and you
if
notice the week prior on week 16 they have them at a 1 p.m. start to ensure if they did want to bring them to a one of these prime time slots that they did play early the week before. So they don't have a 4 p.m., they don't have an 8 p.m. game or Monday night game leading up to these games. So they do have
yeah,
the opportunity. If the Packers are probably going to be good, and then there's a chance. In the Steelers, that last game could be a game that decides the division. So
yeah,
I think that
and
the NFL schedule makers did that for a reason. So it's a good chance that one of those last two games is going to be a primetime game.
so I guess it's safe to say, yep, we playing all the teams from the NFC North with the Bears, Vikings,
Yep.
Lions, and Packers, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but you're right though. Like the Packers probably going to be fighting for a top seed, just going into the playoffs. So that makes that a viable primetime game. And then they always like to go into the postseason with a hard hitting rival game. So the Steelers is always going to be something, and they play them at 1 p.m. And I think those Steeler games get quite a bit of ratings. So I think that Steeler game might end up being the primetime game, just because the simple fact. Let's say if the Steelers do bad, right?
Hmm.
It's going to be a lot of commotion around. Are they going to keep Tomlin? If they do well, then it could potentially be a division matchup. You know what I'm saying? So I think I would bank on the Steelers being a primetime game
Yeah, but
if I had to choose out of the two.
I think it's more likely the Packers. The only reason I say that is when we get to that point in the season, it's a good chance that week 18 the Ravens are sitting there starters, depending on what the division and what the playoff race looks like. And there's a possibility that the Steelers are not in contention for the playoffs. So I think it's more likely for the Packers. And also, like I said before, if they have played, there hasn't been a lot of times they matched up against each other. I'm pretty sure there's never been a Lamar Jackson Jordan Love matchup. So, like
Yeah,
the NFL likes to explore these new matchups
Storylines.
that we're not used to seeing. So, I mean that's a game I would be interested to see in Lambeau.
yeah, and
Hopefully,
they
we're
both.
not in a position to have to play our starters. So
I mean, this is normally around week 11. I mean, a week 17, 16 is the time where we get a win and we will lock our playoff spot. So like this could be the game to secure the number one seed or something like that.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
And I'm a little surprised. I don't see. Well, they potentially maybe one of them could be, but I don't see it on listed here. But this is the first time in a while they didn't send them to London. They usually have like an international game at some point of the season,
Yeah.
but that mean the Ravens the Ravens are top dog because they try to send us against the Titans, send us against the Jaguars. Like some of those teams that you
Yeah.
know let's show them some football teams. And I think at some point realistically the Ravens wasn't popular worldwide, and that's kind of why they would get sent to those games. They're popular among, but now with the rise of having an MVP, they like, let's keep those games local. We need that American money.
Yeah, I think the Ravens' goal this season is to overtake the Chiefs as the class of the AFC. That's what they should be planning to do this season, to make it clear on who is the best team in the AFC. And the only teams they have that opening game that can stop that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Hopefully we're gonna be healthy moving into that game. I think a lot of people don't really take into account how big of a loss Zay Flowers was in that game.
Oh
So
yeah, he'll be back. That's valid.
So I think this is a good. It's gonna, and then we don't have to deal with. Most likely, we shouldn't have to deal with any bad weather in Buffalo in September. So it should
Right.
be decent weather. Should be a lot of excitement, and I think the Ravens should be able to make a statement. First first week of the year.
I'm not gonna lie, man. That losing that game last season with by a toenail really left a cloud over the season, kinda, because it was like, bro, none of these other games really matter until we get back to Pat, and we never got back there. So I don't want that to be the narrative, because that's gonna, for people that thought Lamar should have won MVP this season, if he lose that opening game, like lose to him back to back, it's going to be like, yeah, he was the MVP. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I think, mainstream kind of are leaning to pass the torch to and I feel like this. I think they would more be willing to pass the torch to a Josh Allen or a Joe Burrow.
Mm-hmm.
And we seen this before. Like when Joe Burrow made the Super Bowl, he was getting when people come out with their preseason top 5 QBs, Lamar sometimes wouldn't even make it in it, even though
Yeah.
his numbers speak for itself, but people be so quick to kind of hand it over to the next
I think
prototypical quarterback.
it's more. I think it's fatigue as well. It's voter fatigue because if you look at the
That's
last,
all. That's exactly what it was.
yeah, because you look at the last, if you look at the last MVP voting, they were trying to make reasons why they should give it to Josh Allen. Oh, he didn't have the talent around him, and he was this and he was that because he didn't have the talent around him. They were trying to make reasons to give it to him, and he was like, "Oh, but he had two back-to-back good seasons, and I think he deserved it at this point."
Yeah, and
But
Lamar already got two.
yeah, Lamar got two. Lamar still playing at MVP level. They're like, God damn, he the best player in the league. You can't, hands down, to the point where like, okay, the only deciding factor is like, okay, he went further in the playoffs. All right, this kind of gives us a reason to give it to him. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I think they were just kind of like had voter fatigue. We already understand that Lamar Jackson is something we never seen before, and you want to keep on writing that same narrative over and over again. But you had so much against Lamar saying like, oh, he can't get past Pat, he can't. Josh Allen is kind of even with him. Who's really better? So he had all these things, all these forces against him on why they was trying to negate him being a two-time MVP or him being the third-time MVP with with Josh Allen. He hasn't been one yet. He been playing great for the last few seasons. He beat Lamar in the playoffs. Let's give it to him. So
Right.
it was a little bit of mixture of that, but I'm pretty sure if Lamar had beat Josh Allen that game, it would have been a tougher decision. I feel like they will still give it to Josh Allen for some reason, but I feel like
Bro,
it would have
apparently
been
the MVP voting was done before the season, before the playoff.
yeah. So
I mean, do y'all? I mean, I was talking to somebody earlier, and people like to play like the narrative of, all right, we seen what happened. Like people don't want, is the NFL ready for the face of the league to be a Lamar Jackson? And
I think
and
it's
with
too late,
the
and they don't got no say in the matter. The
Yeah, they
people
don't have
know
no
who.
say in them what matter. But don't you know how they model Tom, like a Tom Brady, or people always question. People always question. Of course, they know the statistic and the statistics and the talent is there, but oftentimes, like we even seen it when they didn't hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch, or they decided to throw the quick slant. People, and even with this, something similar also happened to Walter Payton that prevented him from winning a Super Bowl MVP. So, do you think these things can or would play a factor in anything like those narratives, like, oh, they not ready for that?
Nah, I think it's we at the era like where Allen Iverson was. Like Allen Iverson was such a impact, culture phenomenon. We haven't seen that type of player excel to the highest top. We always get the typical Tom Brady's. Like people, the thing about Tom Brady made it look like he didn't have the talent level to even be the best quarterback, but he continued winning. So it's like the Brady way, the Brady comeback at his thing was coming back in a 2 minute drill, coming back at the end of the game, and he win it. That was his thing. But we never seen somebody be on the top of their game and win the ultimate goal in the form that Lamar Jackson is doing it.
Right.
And I think it's more digestible to see somebody win that way than the Tom Brady or the Patrick Mahomes way, because it's way more entertaining, and
Yeah.
they're trying hard and he playing the best he could possibly play, so it's easier to root for it instead of looking at somebody who makes it look easy and they keep winning, and that goes and then it gets to a point where people only watch it for them to lose. Because like
Right, right.
you would get to a point where you was only watching the Super Bowl to watch Tom Brady lose, or we even watch Floyd Mayweather just to see him lose, or we'll watch Pat Mahomes just to see him lose. To the point where like, oh man, we tired of them. But we never seen it done in a way that a Lamar Jackson can do it, a Michael Vick could have done it, and things of that nature. So I think it's time for that type of face to be the face of the league, especially if we mirroring every quarterback that we trying to draft to him.
I
Yeah.
mean, look at it like this: the people decide who the face of the league is.
Yeah.
We seen
Ah.
look we seen when the NFL try to make a new face of the league. Look what happened with Baker Mayfield. If you don't do it on the field, it don't matter
Matter.
who you promote and who you put in all the commercials and who you try to put in front of on all the NFL commercials. It comes down to who the fans like, who's producing on the field. So I
Who's
think
entertaining?
what Lamar's going through right now is the same thing that Peyton Manning went through a good portion of his career. Was he was by far the best quarterback talent wise, but he just couldn't win in the playoffs.
Hmm.
And he that was the narrative that was the narrative on him until he actually won one. So it's the same thing. Like we look back on it now and we say, yeah, Peyton Manning was one of the GOAT quarterbacks that ever playing the game. But he was going through the same thing that Lamar's going through right now, where they're saying, "Yeah, he good, but he chokes in the playoffs. Yeah, he's this,
Right.
but
And
he's
and
this, but."
and and that's why I think I think it's 50-50. I think it's 50-50. And the reason why I say so about the league versus the league um positioning the face of the league versus the fans is just because I think I was texting Ellis during the playoff game, and how Tony Romo would position Lamar Jackson like versus versus Allen, Josh Allen was like in a negative connotation, right? Like, why is he seemed like he rooting for the Bills?
Yeah.
I think those small little things, even like with commercials or even with like commentators saying, "Oh, like Patrick Mahomes not even playing Sunday night football game, but they'll find some way to insert him." Oh, you seen how he dived and threw the ball like Patrick Mahomes like you always see Chris Collinsworth. Oh, this is like so. I think sometimes it can be the league position of certain players, and we even seen that in the NBA. Like the NBA, when they had NBA branded commercials, they had John Morant on them joints. Once he started doing all the nonsense with the gun stuff, they switched gears and went back to LeBron, and they show some highlights of Steph Curry, and then they might show some Jokic and some Luka Doncic. Like the leagues know what how to market their players. You know what I'm saying? How to build the narrative around it. And
Yeah,
I
but
feel like
that's
in some extent we still learning a lot about Lamar Jackson as the person
yeah,
because
that's
the
two different
NFL
things,
don't
bro.
promote him.
That's two different things. So you talking about the commentators, and then you talking about the NFL. The NFL definitely is scared to promote Lamar Jackson. I can tell you that
That's what I
because
think.
you gotta look at what he looks like as the face of the league, as far as the promotions go, and then you're looking at the commentators. You gotta realize that these commentators are just regular people who they might have
Their favorites.
relationships with these people, so they
Yeah.
might more. Just like you talking about Tony Romo, he might have a relationship with Josh Allen, even though he might not try to show his bias on camera. It's going to naturally come out if you have real relationships outside of work with these people. So I don't think you can kind of you can. And yeah, I could see that in watching all of these sports media shows, the first takes, the
Well, but
Shady
you kind
McCoy.
of made a valid point. What you think is the reason behind that?
The
Is it
reason
not?
behind
It's
what?
why wouldn't they have a relationship with a
I mean,
quarterback like Lamar Jackson?
it's
You know, it's
regular.
like a cultural. I
Yeah,
feel like it's culturally too.
it is. I mean, it's just regular life. Like you guys think of connection, networking. You gotta think Lamar Jackson don't put himself out there to be connecting in social circles with these same type of people that you might see a Romo or Josh Allen at. So you gotta think who is predominantly in those positions at the quarterback position, and it ain't the people that Lamar Jackson hanging with. So you gotta
Yep.
think just naturally in their natural friend circles and friend groups, it's more likely that Josh Allen is going to connect with Romo than Romo is going to connect somehow through mutual friends to Lamar Jackson.
Right,
So that's why
right.
you see these quarterback. Think about it like this: if you look at any of these sports talk shows, you see the black dudes. They always are advocating for Lamar Jackson for the most part because they probably more so in those circles versus the quarterback circles look different than the Shady McCoy running back circle or the Sean Jackson wide receiver circle. Is a different group of people.
Yeah.
So it's like
Yeah.
those natural friend groups is just going to be like that. And of course,
Yeah.
like you supposed to not let your personal, biases come through when you're on TV and in the booth. But sometimes it's natural. Like people
It
just
Talk
does.
about
gonna
who
come
they
out.
like. Like it's not like we got Randall Cunningham or Donovan McNabb in the booth because I'm pretty sure if we had these likeness of people that they be saying the same thing about Lamar Jackson because they more relate to that type of talent than uh, a Phil Sims relating to a
Right.
pocket passer like Joe Burrow. You know what I'm saying? They only commentate on things that they see themselves in. Not one of them players or one of them ex players that's in the booth right now can say, "Oh, they don't even know how to explain what Lamar Jackson doing because that's not what their skill set was or what he was taught." So they can easily speak from a perspective for what a Josh Allen and a Pat Mahomes is doing because that's like your stereotypical QB that we know to commentate on. And then I just think that naturally they'll talk like, oh, that's just like because every time somebody run, they be like, "Oh, Lamar Jackson like," but you don't see a lot of QBs doing that. So you can't really throw comparisons and throw Lamar Jackson name might be brung up based off the speed of a QB or the juke move they make or outstanding run. His name will come up. But when you think about your stereotypical QBs that's in the booth, that's what they relate to and that's what they talk about the most. But like Ketcher said, like when you go to those like the huddle or from the locker room, you see those black guys talking about him. They adore Lamar, yo, because they like this the kind of guy I want to play with or play for. You know what I'm saying? So I just think it's just a cultural thing and the type of people
And,
who the speaking heads of the game.
right. And the thing is why I say like the fans decide who the face of the franchise is if you got to think of the people that's watching like to watch sports to see people do things they can't do.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's Lamar Jackson. Like you gotta think if you were going to Madden to create a quarterback, it'll be Lamar Jackson. So that's the people want to see.
Yep. And I'm
So
pretty
do
sure
you,
9 times out of 10, if you go to any away stadium when the Ravens are playing, every fan in there respect what Lamar Jackson did. They're a fan of their team, but they also a fan of Lamar Jackson, and that's what the difference is between a lot of these other quarterbacks.
all right, so this is gonna be my last question for y'all. Where do you think this past year, based on how the Eagles won the Super Bowl, do you think it now opens the door for like a mobile quarterback? Because if you watch the Super Bowl, it fell heavily on Jalen Hurts to make certain plays at the right time, but naturally it wasn't him dropping back 30 times and completing it. Do you think this is kind of a breakthrough moment for sports to realize that a running quarterback or athletic quarterback can in fact win the Super Bowl?
No, I think that'll
No.
be when Lamar wins the Super Bowl. I think what last season was a breakthrough season for the running back.
Exactly. That's what I'm about to say.
Okay.
Exactly what
It
I'm about
lets
to
you
say.
know a dominant running back will win you the Super Bowl because what you just said, Hurts didn't had to do much. So that was why you seeing Derrick Henry get a contract extension. Why you seeing Genty getting drafted in the top 5 in the draft? People are starting to realize, oh, maybe we do need a elite running back to get. Because you got to
Absolutely.
think, how long has it been since a running back was drafted that high in the draft? Been a minute. Ain't no
Yeah,
coincidence. They
it's been
just
a
saw
minute.
what happened in the Super Bowl. So, if anything, last season was a breakout season for elite
A
running
lot of
backs
running
getting
backs.
paid.
Yeah.
So in terms of the quarterback thing, so you think the Jalen Hurts win is more closer to a Russell Wilson than like a Michael Vick winning it or something like, or like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I mean, ain't no
if you had
different.
to put it on a scale, like who do he closely remind you? He more of like when the Seahawks won with Marshawn Lynch, or like if you had to compare it to anything, is
Like
more
a
so.
Super Bowl winning quarterback.
Yeah.
I'm not saying these the same type of players, but look at the Ravens when they won with Trent Dilfer. He just
Same thing.
he just managed the team. He didn't make no exciting plays. He made plays when he had to, and he focused on defense and the running game.
Yeah.
So
Look at Peyton
I
Manning and the
don't think
Broncos.
Jalen Hurts, like, if anything, it would be Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes more mobile than Jalen Hurts is.
Yeah.
No, no. What did you mean?
Yeah, I'm talking about being more like mobile in the pocket. He's moving his feet. He's going left. He's going right, and then he taking off.
Like
This
being a playmaker.
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I say
Uh,
that. I say he's a better improviser. I don't think he's a better runner.
I don't look at Jalen Hurts and say he's a good runner. I mean,
He
he's
do
like
design quarterback blast. He do design quarterback
he's
dives.
strong. He's
okay.
strong. He
That's
compact.
no. No.
That'll make you a good runner.
Yeah, he runs down. He runs downhill. I mean, I don't want to say downhill like on some
So
Derrick Henry.
if you had to pick quarterback as far as like a playmaker and a runner, would you pick him or the dude
Jaden
from the
Daniels.
Cardinals?
I'll probably pick Jalen Hurts.
No,
No.
You would
absolutely
pick the dude from the Cardinals?
yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kyler Murray is pretty good. Yeah, yeah.
And
But I think he's
I
good
don't
for
think
that
he's as good
system
as him.
though. You don't think Jalen Hurts is good as Kyler Murray?
No,
Running?
That's a take.
like
Hold on, not
overall,
overall. Overall, you don't think he better than?
nope.
That's crazy. Crazy work.
But I think this the stigma on running quarterbacks has changed and has advanced because at first it used to be like so. All right, he could run the ball better than he could pass the ball. But these quarterbacks now can run just as good as they pass. So you
Just
got the Jayden Daniels. You got Jayden Daniels. You look at the evolution of Lamar. Like they evenly good at both things, so it makes them equally dangerous. Dangerous with I wouldn't even categorize them as a scrambling quarterback because it's like,
No, they
yo, this
definitely
is the new
evolving.
this is the new standard. Like if you can't run, you're not good.
yeah. What was one of the knocks on Shador Sanders?
He can't
He
move
couldn't be. He couldn't be
Right,
moved.
but then they act like it's a problem if you're a running quarterback.
But I said it's
because
changing
it's
now.
the evolution of it. Because you
It's
gotta think,
changing now.
it's we only kind of one generation removed, right? So if I had to compare generations, right, you got like Lamar Jackson, of course, is compared to Michael Vick. You got Josh Allen that's compared to a Big Ben, and Big Ben wasn't really mobile. Then you got like
Yeah, but
you,
he was a playmaker though. So when you
yeah, he's a
saying
playmaker.
what do you mean? I think you
Mobile,
confusing
like they
mobile
did,
and a running quarterback.
they design runs for them. That's what I mean by mobile.
They design runs for who?
They design runs for Josh Allen. Like he would line up
Oh,
in wide
okay.
and run. Like that's what I mean. Because honestly, they got better. Like Big Ben could shed tackles and make a good throw. Big Ben wasn't extending plays with his legs like
Yeah, he was.
crazy.
Yeah, he was.
Sometimes, well, he was in his prime, but I wouldn't say to the level of Josh Allen.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
I
he
don't know. I
was.
got to watch him. I got to check that
Yeah, he
out.
was.
I think so. You think he either the same or just as a good of an athlete as a Josh Allen?
No, I don't think he is good as an athlete, but they have a
That's what I'm
similar
saying.
skill.
They are kind of they're
They have
evolving.
similar
They
skill set.
similar characteristics. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like I don't even know who I would compare to a Steve Young or somebody
I
that.
mean, but that's the same thing. I don't even. I would. This might be blasphemy to say. I don't think Lamar. I mean, I don't think Mike Vick is as good as an athlete as Lamar Jackson is.
No.
No, I agree with that. I could
But
agree with
they
that.
have a similar play style.
Yeah. I mean, because you think about the electric runs, that's what the only thing you compare. But then you got Michael Vick had a strong arm as well.
Hmm.
But then you just gotta think about. I think the thing that ever makes the game change is the front, because you gotta think you no longer can drive back and think you're gonna have 3 seconds in the pocket. So
Yeah.
if you can't get away from the pressure, because you got D ends or D tackles running for just as fast as running back, like four,
No,
five,
you're
four,
right though.
four.
And
So if you don't have that, then you don't. If you can't buy yourself an extra second in the pocket, then you technically a sitting
But that's
duck.
probably why you never see another player like Peyton Manning.
Yeah, you never.
No, but we watched it. I think when me and E was watching the draft, we kind of noticed that because even how the game kind of transitioned. Like you don't have a linebacker as big as Ray Lewis wearing a donut and all that, like a Brian Urlacher type guy. These guys were getting drafted, and they was like 225. You know what I'm
You know,
saying?
it's
As
funny
middle
because
linebackers. So the style of football definitely
when
changed.
they drafted Ray Lewis, they said he was small.
That's crazy work.
Exactly.
And that's why I said like
No,
Lamar, like Michael Vick needed weight, so he wasn't going to be as athletic as Lamar Jackson.
yeah. Look at the running backs. Even the running backs. Like how many? Like we need backs. We need our backs to catch now, and be route runners.
Yeah, so
You know
you
what I'm
ain't
saying?
gonna see
That's
no more
almost
Eddie
a.
Georges,
You ain't gonna see no big.
Eddie
I think
Lacy's,
Dirk Henry might be the last of his
and
kind.
he
You think
not
he the
even
last
that.
of a dying breed?
Nah, he not because Derrick Henry run a 4.3. So
No, but
No, but I'm
as
saying
him
of the
being
big backs.
big,
Like, are we ever going to see somebody like Jerome Bettis? Are we going to see a
I
Jamal
wouldn't.
Lewis
Well, y'all seen
style
when
back?
Jamal Lewis ran a 4.3. So that's the thing. Like
no, I'm not talking about speed.
you gonna
I'm
see
talking
these
about
big
being able to
running
run
backs
routes.
if they got speed.
Oh
You
yeah.
ain't gonna see a Bettis. You're not gonna see like a Eddie Lacy type running back. You ain't gonna see those type of running backs no more.
Who just run?
Who just straight up power backs.
Yeah, you ain't gonna
I
see
wouldn't
those.
categorize Derrick Henry as that.
Oh, as a power back. I mean, is Eddie George? Was Eddie George considered a power back?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, he was a power back.
That's
Oh
what I
yeah.
would compare to.
Jerome
That's
Bettis.
what I would compare to Derrick Henry.
But
Nah,
he
he
run a
wasn't fast as
4.4
Derrick Henry. Nowhere near as fast as Derrick
or
Henry.
big. Well, he was 6'4", wasn't
Yeah, he was
He
like
was a
six
big
three.
boy, but he wasn't. He wasn't like no.
he? Stout
He
was
wasn't
that?
like Derrick Henry.
Yeah. You know what I'm just saying? That's why the position started to go down, and then they were like, "Oh shit, we just need to make our running backs faster and be able to catch out the backfield." That's what like, oh, we could use the position for that. But then you got your, because you look at Barkley. Barkley is your perfect stereotypical back of now, right?
Right.
He could run like a regular running back, but he also can catch the ball and make plays in the open field like a receiver. So it's like I think that's the more ideal back that we're looking for now, instead of those first, second, and third down backs. And now we splitting the load, and then we use our big backs for certain down the distance. So it's like the back is still there. Running backs are still important, but for certain situations. But your primary back has to be able to run and catch the ball at the backfield. It's just
Yeah,
two
and
different.
yeah, and now that I'm thinking about it, if I had to give you a comparison, in my head was the closest to Derrick Henry, it probably was Jamal Lewis.
I didn't know he ran a 4.3. That's crazy.
Yeah, and he was 230. I mean, of course, he wasn't as tall as Derrick Henry. I think he was like 5'10",
Yeah.
but he was 230 running a 4.3.
I was thinking more like he wasn't as stout, but I like Arian Foster was a big back too.
Yeah,
But he wasn't. He wasn't like
I mean, the ultimate
considered a
prototype is
bruiser.
somebody like AP.
Yeah, AP one of those guys I think can run in any generation. Hands
He
down.
may look. Yeah,
All right, so before we close down the show, before we get up out of here, I got one last question. I know I said this about half an hour ago, but Derrick Henry is about 2,000 rushing yards from being the top 10, like being within the top 10 of all time rushers. I'm not sure the exact numbers, but all he needs is 2,000 more yards. Do you think he reached that between these next couple seasons?
Yeah, he almost had it last year. What you mean? He almost had 2,000 yards last year.
and he got 2 seasons to do it now.
Yeah,
So yeah, he was
yeah.
definitely touching.
I think that's like I said, barring
Oh, you think you think these going to be his last two though?
I would if they I
Because
think
he 31 right now, so that 2 years to bring him at 33.
yeah,
I think he hang around
especially if we win a Super Bowl within these
Super
next 2
Bowl.
years.
Yeah, we win a Super Bowl. If he don't retire after he win a Super Bowl, I think he do one more year, just one more money grab with a team that don't make sense.
Yeah, I can see
The
that too.
Cowboys.
Any team that willing to have him type shit.
Yeah, but that's good that we finally got him locked in. And I'm hoping if we do this restructuring with Lamar that we could keep we could keep that. I think it's pie in the sky to keep both tight ends, but I hope we able to.
You mean this season?
Well, next season, yeah, next season. I think that.
Well, Mark Andrews' contract is over. He will not be back. I can tell you that right now. If he even makes it to the season.
Oh, you don't think he gonna make it? You don't think he's suited up this year?
No, I think he will. I think he will.
Oh, okay.
But he's not getting another deal from the Ravens, I can tell you that.
We're in a likely area. Definitely in a likely area.
It did seem that way though. It seemed like they was about to trade Mark based on the interviews with John Harbaugh, just like being asked about it, and he was talking about him in past tense, like he played good for us.
Yeah, but
like,
that's what I'm saying. That might not be over with. The offseason is still going on. Ravens might find a deal for a safety they like. So you don't know. The one thing I did notice is they didn't make a draft pick of a tight end this year. Most likely they will be doing that next year. So I think that in itself will make him safe because we don't have only but him and Cola on the roster that I believe as far as
yeah,
tight
likely in
ends.
Kolar. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think they're gonna be in a rush to trade him unless they have another option in hand. Because I know they like to have three tight ends on the roster. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. But I do know for sure he will not be signing another deal with the Ravens. So at the end of this year, you can say goodbye to Mark Andrews. Hopefully he get a Super Bowl. He get to redeem himself for last season.
Yeah, week 1.
Yeah, and then he made a couple of good plays, and all will be forgiven.
But won't be forgotten. All right. All right, family. That wraps up our episode, our special edition Raven schedule release episode from the Crib Podcast. Like, follow, subscribe. Please like and comment if you agree with our final record. Is that 12-5? Well, no, we're 12-5.
Yeah, 12-5.
12-5. Let us know, fam. Like, follow, comment. See you next time. Peace.